Okay, I'm going to make a small rolling ball sculpture to show you the overall process of how I make rolling ball sculptures. So follow along. First I'm going to start out with building the base. So I'm going to make a little curved cube and then maybe a little foot. And then maybe another foot. And then kind of make it like this, another foot. You kind of want to make the feet where they don't scratch the table. So you can see I make my feet with little round little things that touch the table. So that'll keep the table from getting hurt too bad. And then at the top I'm going to make a little place for the track. Let's call it right there. I'm going to clip it off, make a little loop so I can attach it, and crimp it down. So there's the start of my sculpture, and seeing that it's copper I can bend it pretty easy and make it a little more the way I like it. Okay, and of course the problem with 4 feet is that trying to get them all to sit on the floor at once is sometimes a challenge. You just have to kind of work with it till you get it. Okay, so you can see all 4 feet are sitting down, and got my top part. Now this sculpture is going to be about 6 or 8 inches tall. And that's going to be a small one in my opinion, so hopefully it shouldn't take too long to make it. Alright, so there's the base. And I'm going to solder the 2 joints that I created. So I'm going to flux them real good so that the solder will stick. So it's fluxed. Start my torch there. And you want to have the flame be about 2 inches. Count to 15 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You see the green flame there? Once you see the green flame, you pretty well know that it's hot enough to melt the solder. That green probably comes from the oxidation of the copper, kind of like the Statue of Liberty turns green, and the flame kind of turns green too. And you know it's gotten hot enough to melt the solder at that point. Okay, so now we got our solder on there. Now of course you always want to heat the copper first and let the solder run into the copper. That makes a really good joint. Don't heat the solder, melt it, and then try to stick to the copper. It never works. You get a cold solder joint. It doesn't work right. Alright, so that's the first part of it, and I'm going to try to make the other side. And of course this sculpture is going to be hot because whenever you heat up metal, of course the metal conducts all the way around the sculpture, so you'll have the whole sculpture be hot. You be real careful about that because that's very dangerous. Alright. Okay, I'm going to try to make the other side. And it's going to want to be about that tall. And this is all just guessing on the sides. It doesn't have to be exact. Alright, so now I'm going to crimp those down. I got it the way I like it. Okay, and then I want to, it's still hot. I want to hold that still so I can solder it. So I'm going to get a clothespin. Just hold it there. Okay, and then I'm going to flex it so the solder will stick. Put plenty of flux on there. It's kind of a greasy stuff. And don't worry about washing it off right away. It's not that corrosive. You can wait for this sculpture, the size of it. You can wait till it's done before you before you get the flecks off of there. So I usually try to wash it off after the sculptures are done, because you don't want to have a greasy sculpture. Alright. And that is the base. Okay, so now I have a base, and so I'm going to start working on the track. So I need about, let's say about 6 feet of copper wire for the track. So I'm going to pull off that much. Okay, so I have a bunch of wire here now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab both ends. Okay, so I've got, you see I've got both ends. I'm just going to follow it all the way down to the other end. And so that's about the middle. So hopefully both ends of this track are about the same length. And so now what I do is I'm going to make the track about the width of a marble or so. And I've got a few marbles in a little cup over here that I've made. I've been used for testing my sculpture with. It looks about good, so I'm going to bend up the end so that the marbles, of course, can't go off the other end. So, alright, so that's what it's about going to ride. So let's try, see if we can come up with something here. Alright. So there's my starting track, and I'm going to flux it real good so I can solder it. Okay, so I'll start my propane torch. Now you can see how I'm kind of holding it. I'm kind of holding it where I've got my thumb on the on the spigot, and so I can kind of regulate the length of the flame. I want to keep that flame about 2 inches long. Of course, each joint you solder, they'll go faster because you've already heated up the sculpture pretty much. So like the first one may take 15 seconds. The next joint may only take like 10, and so on.